Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to join us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television tonight. Plans are on the way to double the supply of water in the littoral region. The announcement by officials of Kamwata here in the city of Douala is coming at the time when some residents in Bidi, precisely in the Douala 5 area, are complaining that they have been for 5 years without potable water. And also in this newscast, Bangui has maintained that the man who killed the Cameroonian police officer that was in Toktoyo in the east region of the country is not an army in the Central African Republic. Our guest tonight, a barrister at law, evaluates the finished business of the administrative bench of the Supreme Court that was sitting in for the Constitutional Council, which ended deliberations on submitted petitions yesterday. These are headlines, details and more just in a moment. Welcome once again, viewers, for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on ATV. We begin right away in health. Here in the economic capital, Douala, health officials have expressed worries over the growing rate of persons affected by yellow fever. This follows a report of how 5 cases were discovered in 2012 over the 23 persons that are affected nationwide. Plans are on the way to that effect to launch a vaccination campaign in some 13 districts in the country's economic capital, Douala. For Hansen Chanji tells us more in the following report.
The resurgence in the number of deaths from the disease, yellow fever, the best defense, which is vaccination, is a significant health problem in Cameroon. Yellow fever is an infectious sickness caused by virus that is transmitted by a species of mosquitoes, and the sickness becomes dangerous when it clocks 10 days in the body. The World Health Organization estimates that 200,000 cases are recorded and 30,000 die worldwide annually due to yellow fever. In Cameroon, since the vaccination campaign of October 2012, 23 new cases were recorded with 7 deaths.
Yellow fever, it is an infection who is transmitted to the human by a mosquito called Aedes. Symptoms are the color yellow of the eyes and the urines and the fever.
According to medical doctors, the sickness has no specific cure but could be prevented by taking vaccination to arm the body for defense against the virus. It is 4 years after the Littoral Regional Delegation for Public Health organized a vaccination campaign in 2009. This August 27, they plan to take the campaign to 13 districts of the region, excluding Douala, where a total of 850,000 people are expected to be vaccinated within 6 days.
We have detected few cases of yellow fever in our region, so the government decided to carry out this campaign in our rural district. We have many teams, more than 700 teams who are going to work door to doors and in the hospitals to vaccinate people.
Doctors say only persons above 9 months, excluding pregnant women, are expected to take the vaccination. Over 738 groups of officials will be stationed in both fixed and temporal areas, including chiefdoms, clinics, schools, mosques, churches, among others.
For Hansen Chanji, they're ending the report. Still here in the economic capital, Douala, plans are on the way to increase water supply in the littoral region from the existing, or to increase it from the existing 1,000 meter cubes to 2,000 meter cubes. That is going to be this year. Officials of the water distributing company Kamwata made the announcement in a meeting which held Thursday, that was yesterday, in Douala between some 6 stakeholders in the sector and officials of the region. The move is coming at a time when several neighborhoods in the economic capital Douala are in dire need of potable water. Some inhabitants of Bedi, precisely in the Douala 5 municipality, say they have been for over 5 years without the precious liquid. And still here in the economic capital, Douala, the government has announced plans to boost the country's aquaculture, which has before now been unable to produce enough for the Cameroonian population. The Minister for Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Husbandry, Dr. Tiger, was speaking here in the economic capital, Douala, yesterday, as Fonhansin Chanji tells us in the following report.
The fishing sector in Cameroon is experiencing dwindling fortunes as the country is unable to produce fish to the needs of the population. Statistics shows that Cameroon imports more than half of our fish from abroad, thereby constituting a major capital flight. Cameroon spends more than 100 billion to import fish annually. Despite the numerous possibilities of Cameroon to produce catfish, it still imports it from China.
Il y a plusieurs mesures qui sont en cours.
It is against this backdrop that the Minister for Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Husbandry, Dr. Tiger, said the government of Cameroon is planning to improve on its fight to rehabilitate the fishing sector. He also said plans are on the way to build new fishing points and opening of schools to train Cameroonians to become experts in the sector.
Des écloseries sont en cours.
Experts say the rational management of fisheries could bring more nutritional, economic and social benefits to Cameroon. Whether or not this benefit can be realized in the near future will depend on the Fishery Administration's commitment to look for the best scientific solution, establish appropriate policies and select the best fishery objectives. If not, Cameroon will continue to depend on imported fish.
Thanks indeed for Hansin Chanji for that report. The government of the Central African Republic has pledged to sanction those who masterminded the killing of the Cameroonian police officer that was in Toktoyo in the east region of Cameroon. The director of the civil cabinet at the presidency of the Central African Republic said that the perpetrator is a highway robber and not a member of the Seleka rebels. But the east regional governor has maintained that the murderer had a professional card which identified him as an army in the Central African Republic. Up to now, the border between Cameroon and the Central African Republic has remained closed following orders from the Cameroonian authorities. And back to Yaoundé Central region of Cameroon, the execution rate of the public investment budget in Cameroon stands at 30% more than 7 months into the financial year. The government has expressed worries over the far-reaching consequences of the situation on the country's economy. A Yaoundé-based correspondent Roland Akong tells us more in the following report.
950 billion is the 2013 public investment budget of Cameroon. 8 months gone, the execution rate of the budget stands at 34% and project completion stands at 22%. The rate is considered as abnormally low. The impact is visible on the ground through poor transport, road and telecommunication infrastructures. The abnormal low consumption also affects human capital through inadequate health, education and training facilities. It also impacts technical progress and stagnates economic growth. This government meeting in Yaoundé Tuesday aims to seek a definite solution to the problem. The blame is attributed to the poor mastery of reforms in public contracts and public finance, the non-respect of contract engagements taken by contract supervisory authorities, problems in the tender of files, and slow award of contracts. Solutions to these problems don't seem to be near.
We take you viewers straight away out of our national boundaries. The U.S. President Barack Obama has described the alleged use of chemical weapons in Syria in an attack as a big event of grave concern. He said America would intervene if the allegations are confirmed. Let's have the details of the report with Franz Venkat.
This amateur video has shocked people around the world. It shows what the Syrian opposition says are victims of a chemical weapons attack. US President Barack Obama has responded in a TV interview. That starts getting to some core national interests that the United States has, both in terms of us making sure that weapons of mass destruction are not proliferating, as well as needing to protect our allies. This is something that is going to require America's attention and hopefully the entire international community's attention. British Foreign Minister William Hague blamed the Syrian government.
I know that some people in the world would like to say this is some kind of conspiracy brought about by the opposition in Syria. I think the chances of that are vanishingly small. And so we do believe that this is a chemical attack by the Assad regime.
But UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon only renewed a demand for clarification.
Once again, I call for an immediate investigation of this latest incident. We have an investigation team on the ground in Damascus led by Dr. Selstrom. Having gone to investigate earlier allegations, I have called on the Syrian government to extend its full cooperation.
So far, the videos have not been verified, and experts say that delays will only make it more difficult to determine exactly what happened.
Our update in news out of Cameroon with the Dutch Velen TV. We remain in news out of our national boundaries. At least 42 people have been killed and more than 400 seriously injured by two huge blasts in Lebanon's northern city of Tripoli. Reports say the attack occurred immediately as Friday prayers ended and might be targeting a prominent cleric. The second bomb blast occurred 5 minutes later at the mosque, and it remains unclear whether the cleric was at the mosque at the time of the attack, although reports say that he was giving a sermon. And that does it for this segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. As we announced in the headlines, viewers, in the second part of this newscast, we are going to be talking about the finished business of the administrative bench of the Supreme Court. Sitting in for the Constitutional Council, they have so far examined over 250 petitions that were submitted by grumbling political parties ahead of the country's municipal elections, built for the 30th of September 2013, and a majority of them were unfavorable, and it has triggered multiple reactions from political parties or some actors of the political scene in the country. Our guest tonight is a barrister at law, as we announced in the headlines. Good evening to you, Mr. Gilbert Bogam, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Thank you. Good evening, madam.
As I earlier asked, I just wish to find out about your reaction on the various petitions. So far, the administrative bench of the Supreme Court has finished examining the over 250 petitions of the various political parties that were vying for posts in the upcoming municipal elections in the country, and almost 3/4 of the various petitions that were submitted by political parties were rejected. What's your reaction as far as that is concerned?
Yeah, actually, as concerned the petition themselves, I first of all think that there is a problem with the law, because with the law organizing the administrative court in Cameroon, they were supposed to petition before the various administrative courts. But I was surprised when they filed their petition before the administrative bench of the Supreme Court. This is a total violation of the law, because the administrative courts themselves, they are already set up in Cameroon. For example, I was briefed in one matter here where I had to petition, and I went before the administrative court in Douala. But they told me that they received instruction from Yaoundé not to receive any petition. I was shocked. So I think that as per the decision of the Supreme Court, to me, in Cameroon today, there is a very big problem, because the judiciary is not independent. So the decision that rejecting the applications, to me, is very normal. I was expecting that.
What do you mean by it was very normal?
It was very normal because, first of all, they started violating the law. The administrative bench of the Supreme Court is not a competent authority at this present moment, because the administrative courts are already in place. So they were supposed to file the petition before the administrative courts. That's the problem.
So to you, you are not surprised at all that at least 3/4 of the various petitions that were filed in by political parties were rejected. And some party officials in Yaoundé, they actually reacted on the unfavorable ruling by the Supreme Court. That is how they described it. And they say that the Supreme Court has so far failed in its rule, and that as a result of the fact that, and they described the ruling by the Supreme Court as unjustified. Do you also think or share a similar view?
I want to tell you that as a lawyer, there are very few lawyers that will be honest, and very few litigants will equally be honest when there is a ruling or a judgment. You get me? So with the Supreme Court ruling on this issue, for instance, I'll take a case of the petition with the SDF and is it ANGP at Kumba, in Kumba, where they claim that Section 171 of the Electoral Code law was violated by ANGP because they did not consider the fact that their list was supposed to be made up of male and female. It is true, but now the law does not state that the sanction on this. Yes, the law states that this is what they are supposed to do, but it doesn't provide any sanction on that. So you think that the Supreme Court will base on that?
But if the law states that it should take into consideration the gender and other, as well as other components, and it's not respected, and thereafter the document is rejected by the Supreme Court or Elections Cameroon, is that a problem? Because that's violating the law if it does not respect the necessary components.
I think that it's not really violating the law because the law does not, there's no sanction. It is just, there's no sanction on that. So the Supreme Court will base on what to reject it, to uphold the application. Because the law, it is just a procedure, it's stated by the law, but there's no sanction. If they violate it, what are we going to do? That's the problem. There's an ambiguity with the law itself.
So is the problem with the Supreme Court or the problem with the Electoral Code?
It is with the Electoral Code.
What is the problem with the Electoral Code?
The problem is that the Electoral Code and even the law organizing the administrative bench of the Supreme Court and even the administrative court states a point without stating the sanction if you violate it. You get me? For instance, it states that the gender must be respected. That gender, that in any list, there must be that gender that they have to respect. But it doesn't say that in a case where they violate it, what are we going to do? That's the problem.
But what do you expect when the law is stating clearly that gender should be respected, and it's not respected and the file not accepted? Is it not but simple and understandable that the file would normally be rejected? If the law stipulates that it should be accepted and it is not, it should be respected and it's not respected, and thereafter the document is rejected, is there any problem with that?
The law states that the list should compile male and female, let me put it that way. And then, it doesn't state that if this is not respected, they have to reject the list. That's the point.
That's the problem. And now ELECAM is expected to still go through some of the documents as following instructions from the administrative bench of the Supreme Court that examined the various petitions and instructed ELECAM to re-examine. So for how long is ELECAM expected to carry out the exercise?
Actually, the law equally is really silent on this part. It just states that normally ELECAM is supposed to just respect what the Supreme Court states. But the law is silent. The law does not give the amount of days that ELECAM is supposed to publish the list as from now.
So the law equally is
silent on this part.
And now, what according to the Electoral Code would happen from now to the holding of the campaigns, organization of campaigns in the country?
From now, as per the law, the ELECAM has to contact all the municipal authorities where they will provide space for the various political parties to paste their campaign gadget within the time limit. When they paste their campaign gadget, now, after having published the list, the final list, because what they did was just a temporal list, they have to publish a final list, which is which cannot be contested again. With that list now, all the municipal authorities, they will have to provide spaces for all the political parties to provide to paste their various campaign posters.
For how long would that go before campaigns finally take place or start in
They
the
have to
country?
do that immediately that has to start 15 days before election.
Campaigns are supposed to begin 15 days prior to the elections.
So by the 15th of September, they have to begin campaigns.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbert Bongam, for joining us tonight on Talking Point, and we hope to have you some other time again.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
We should be thanking you for coming, and to our viewers, we thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television, wishing you a blessed weekend in the company of our programs. Good evening to you once again.